weren't betrayed because they were evil. You were betrayed because you refused to see the truth. They told you that the world would recognize your goodness. That one day, if you were kind enough, patient enough, selfless enough, someone would finally see your value. They lied. In reality, your kindness has made you disposable. This is the silent curse of the nice guy. Machiavelli never wrote for the noble-hearted. He wrote for those who understood the world not as a moral landscape, but as a battlefield. His advice was cold, strategic, brutally effective, because the truth he knew is still the truth today. If you are not feared, you will be forgotten. This video is not about teaching you to be cruel. It's not about turning you into a monster. It's about showing you that the man who refuses to defend himself will always be the first one sacrificed. The man who avoids power games becomes a pawn in someone else's. In this video, we break down 7 tactical principles drawn from the mindset of Machiavelli that will teach you how to stop being liked and start being respected. You'll learn how to set hard limits without explanation, how to use silence as your armor, how to walk away from manipulation without guilt, and how to be the one who chooses, not the one who's chosen. Because in a world that respects boundaries more than kindness, you either learn to say no with power, or you say yes with regret. By the end of this video, you won't just understand why nice guys finish last. You'll know how to make sure you're never one of them again. 1. The lie they told you. They told you to be kind. They told you to be polite. They told you to always turn the other cheek. But they never told you the cost. No one warned you that kindness, when offered without limit, becomes weakness. That politeness, when unconditional, becomes an invitation. That in the real world, niceness is not a virtue, it is a signal, a target painted on your back. People don't admire endless niceness, they exploit it. Because where you see virtue, they see vulnerability. You think giving more will earn you more, but the more you give, the more they take, and the less they respect you. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He didn't believe in the fairy tale of goodness, he believed in outcomes. And the nice guy, he doesn't just finish last, he doesn't finish at all. The cultural myth of the nice guy is seductive. It promises love, approval, and success to those who are gentle, empathetic, and agreeable. But this myth ignores a brutal reality. The world does not operate on moral reciprocity. There is no cosmic scorekeeper rewarding selflessness. In fact, often, the opposite is true. The more you yield, the more you get trampled. The more you accommodate, the more you are disregarded. Nice guys often derive their self-worth from being needed. They find identity in fixing others, pleasing others, supporting others, even at the cost of their own well-being. But when your sense of self depends on how useful or agreeable you are, you become a tool rather than a person. Your value is no longer intrinsic, it becomes transactional. And here's the deeper danger. This behavioral pattern doesn't just limit your growth, it invites manipulation. People who sense your need for approval will exploit it. Employers will overwork you. Partners will take you for granted. Friends will dump their problems on you and vanish when you need help. Being the nice guy becomes a cycle of emotional depletion. Escaping this trap requires a radical shift in identity. You must let go of the belief that kindness is your ticket to acceptance. You must recognize that self-respect is a higher form of virtue than being liked. Niceness must become a choice, not a compulsion. When you learn to say no, when you stop apologizing for your standards, when you put yourself first, not out of selfishness but out of necessity, you begin to reclaim the power that endless politeness stripped away. 2. The world doesn't care about your intentions. You think your good heart will protect you. It won't. You believe your patience will be noticed. It won't. You hope your sacrifices will be repaid. They won't. Because the world doesn't care about your intentions. It cares about your posture, your boundaries, your strength. People aren't drawn to kindness. They're drawn to power, calm, quiet, unmistakable power. And that's exactly what the nice guy lacks. Machiavelli said it clearly. If you must choose between being loved and being feared, always choose fear. Because fear is consistent, love is conditional. Respect born from power lasts longer than affection earned by servitude. This truth disturbs many. It seems to fly in the face of everything we've been taught. But look around. The people who are respected in your life, are they the ones who always say yes? Or the ones who set boundaries, who speak firmly, who don't flinch at conflict? Real power doesn't pander, it doesn't beg, it doesn't adapt to everyone else's comfort. The world judges you not by what you intended, but by what you tolerate. If you tolerate disrespect, that becomes your standard. If you let people speak to you however they want, walk over you without challenge, then that becomes the identity they associate with you. The man who gains respect in this world is the one who can carry silence with the same weight as a sword, who can say no without a need to explain, who can hold his frame when others shake. You must let go of the idea that good deeds, done with good intent, are enough. Intentions do not build walls, they do not protect territory, they do not establish presence. Actions do, boundaries do, standards do. This isn't about cruelty, it's about control. Control over your time, your energy, your self-respect. When you operate from clarity instead of sentiment, you stop being easy to take advantage of. You start being seen as someone who demands recognition, not requests it. Power comes not from being aggressive, but from being unshakable. The world does not need more nice guys. It needs more strong men who can be kind without being naive. 3. How to use kindness without being used. Kindness isn't the problem. Blind kindness is. The kind that says yes to everything, that tolerates mistreatment, that bends over backwards, hoping to earn favor. That's not generosity. That's self-betrayal. True kindness must be rare, strategic, controlled. Given only when it adds value, not when it erases your dignity. Power isn't the absence of kindness, it's the control of it. Machiavelli would call this calculated mercy, an act done for effect, not obligation. You don't need to stop being kind. You need to stop being kind without boundaries. You need to stop handing out forgiveness like candy. Because when everything is free, nothing is valued, least of all you. Weaponized kindness is a discipline. It means recognizing that your time, your attention, your approval, all of it has value. And what has value must not be given to everyone indiscriminately. If you give without discernment, you teach people that what you offer is cheap. Kindness, when strategic, becomes a tool of leadership, a gift that carries weight. Think of a ruler who pardons not because he must, but because it cements his control. It makes others indebted to him. It reinforces his power. That's how you use goodness like a weapon, not to harm, but to influence. Nice guys often make the mistake of offering themselves before being asked. They volunteer too quickly, offer favors too easily. They see service as a path to being seen. But that's not how it works. When you are always available, always accommodating, people stop asking. They just take. And eventually, they stop seeing. The paradox is this: the less you give freely, the more valuable your giving becomes. The more boundaries you create around your generosity, the more others respect it. If you help everyone, no one remembers. If you help selectively, strategically, everyone pays attention. Think of your time and emotional energy like currency. You are not an open ATM. You are a private vault. You decide who gets in, how often, and for how long. Not out of cruelty, but out of self-respect. Out of an understanding that resources spent carelessly are always regretted. If you've been the guy who's always there, always listening, always giving, it's time to step back. It's time to audit who deserves access. Ask yourself, do they give back? Do they appreciate? Or do they expect? Machiavelli would not tell you to stop being kind. He'd tell you to guard your kindness like treasure. Use it when it strengthens your position. Withdraw it when it's taken for granted. Let it be a tool of strategy, not a symptom of self-erasure. Remember, true power is not the constant display of force. It's the ability to control the distribution of grace, and when your kindness becomes rare, intentional, and respected, that's when it becomes power. 4. Stop explaining, start commanding. Nice guys explain everything. They soften every truth. They pre-apologize for every sentence. But the more you explain, the more you reveal. The more you talk, the easier it is to control you, because every explanation is a confession of fear, of insecurity, of dependence. Power doesn't explain. It decides, and it acts. Machiavelli understood the value of mystery. Let them wonder, let them guess. When you're silent, you're unpredictable. And when you're unpredictable, you're dangerous. People respect what they cannot read, they fear what they cannot predict. In every room, there is a silent calculation taking place. Who speaks first, and who listens? Who over-explains, and who lets silence build tension? The man who explains too much gives away his strategy. The man who holds back creates presence. Excessive justification is often rooted in the fear of being misunderstood. But here's the truth. Strong people don't need to be understood. They need to be respected. They don't clarify to make others comfortable. They act, and the world adapts. This doesn't mean becoming a brick wall. It means becoming selective. Speak with precision. When you say no, don't dress it up with 10 excuses. Let the word stand. When you draw a line, don't blur it with endless rationale. Let the boundary be enough. In negotiation, in leadership, in relationships, the one who talks less often controls more. Because words can be argued with, silence cannot. When you stop narrating your every move, people begin to speculate, and speculation creates caution. It's better to be misunderstood and respected than fully understood and disregarded. The more you explain, the more they evaluate. The less you explain, the more they assume. And assumption, when combined with mystery, is a force multiplier. So stop begging to be seen as the good guy. Stop explaining why you said no. Stop justifying why you walked away. Let the results speak. Let your absence explain. Let your boundary teach. Because when you speak like a man who needs no defense, the world listens. 5. Emotional detachment is power. You can't lead when you're always bleeding. You can't command when you're constantly explaining. In a world that profits from your emotional availability, detachment becomes your strongest shield. If you want to reclaim your power, start here. Detach. Detach from needing approval. Detach from needing to be understood. Detach from the hope that people will finally see your worth. Because needing anything makes you controllable. When you no longer react to insults, rejections, or silence, you become untouchable. You see the game. You don't play it. You choose when to care and when to walk away. This isn't coldness. This is focus. This is strength. Machiavelli didn't write for the overly emotional. He wrote for those who could hold their composure while others fell apart. The man who controls his emotions controls the board. Emotional detachment doesn't mean numbness. It means clarity. It means you no longer let others dictate your state of mind. The more emotionally reactive you are, the easier it is for others to manipulate you. They can bait you, control you, derail you. But when you detach, they lose that power. You learn to respond instead of react, to analyze instead of absorb. Detachment gives you the space to make strategic decisions, not emotional ones. It allows you to see patterns, motives, and games for what they are, not what you wish they were. Nice guys are often emotional caretakers. They absorb everyone's problems, internalize every slight, and take on burdens that were never theirs to carry. They do this because they've confused empathy with identity. They think being good means being available. But emotional availability without boundaries is just exposure. When you detach, you stop being a sponge. You stop giving people free rent in your head. You let silence replace arguments. You let space replace chasing. You let your absence become your statement. In practice, detachment means not texting first. It means not explaining yourself to people who misunderstand you on purpose. It means not needing closure to move on. It means realizing that most people don't want the truth. They want comfort. And your power begins when you stop delivering comfort to those who haven't earned it. Machiavelli's wisdom teaches us that emotional discipline is not about being cruel. It's about being effective. When you detach from needing to be liked, you gain freedom. When you detach from the urge to please, you gain vision. When you detach from needing outcomes to validate you, you gain peace. Let others panic. Let them chase approval. You stay still. Let them play emotional games. You remain focused. Because emotional detachment doesn't make you cold. It makes you immune. And immunity is what makes you unstoppable. 6. Consequences. Speak louder than words. Respect is not taught by tolerance. It's earned through consequence. If they cross the line and nothing happens, you just moved the line. Nice guys think being patient will inspire change, that enduring disrespect will eventually earn respect. But people don't change because you endure. They change when you withdraw, when you disappear, when you stop making yourself available. Forgiveness without consequence teaches nothing. Boundaries without enforcement are fantasies. You don't need to yell. You don't need to argue. Just walk away. Just cut access. Just make the cost of disrespect unbearable. Power is in the action, not the explanation. The less you say, the more they feel. The harsher the absence, the louder the message. You want to be remembered. Don't speak. Disappear. The biggest mistake nice guys make is believing that kindness should always be unconditional, that love must always be extended. But love without limits becomes a liability, and kindness without consequence becomes currency for the ungrateful. Machiavelli believed that the best form of instruction was consequence, not speeches, not lectures, not emotional pleas, but actions that made people think twice before crossing a line again. Consequences don't require cruelty. They require consistency. If someone takes advantage of you, the appropriate consequence is withdrawal. If someone mocks your values, the consequence is distance. If someone lies, the consequence is silence. The nice guy often hesitates to set these consequences because he fears being seen as mean. But kindness without a backbone is not kindness. It's surrender. And those who continuously surrender are not respected. They are replaced. When you enforce consequences, you teach the world how to treat you. You signal that you have standards, that your time, your trust, your presence are earned, not guaranteed. That is the essence of dignity. Real strength is not just in lifting others up, it's in knowing when to step away, in knowing when your silence is more instructive than your words, in understanding that sometimes the loudest boundary is the one you never explain. If they ask why you're distant, don't answer. If they wonder why you're cold, let them reflect. Your absence is the answer. Your silence is the statement. Your boundary is the lesson. 7. Become the one. They don't cross. Fear is not the absence of kindness. It's the presence of boundaries. If you want to be respected, become the man they think twice about testing. Don't aim to be liked. Aim to be respected. Aim to be remembered. Aim to be the one they don't dare underestimate. The man who walks in silence but strikes with certainty. The one who forgives but never forgets. Who shows mercy, but only when it serves a purpose. True dominance is not loud. It's not aggressive. It's composed, reserved, ruthless when it must be. The untouchable man isn't the one who tries to please. He's the one who doesn't need to. Becoming untouchable isn't about building walls. It's about building presence. It's about developing an energy that commands attention, not by force, but by consistency. It's about becoming so grounded that nothing outside of you can shake what's inside of you. You don't need to bark to be feared. You don't need to boast to be respected. You need to embody calm, decisive confidence. You need to be the man whose very demeanor says, "I don't chase. I choose." Start by reclaiming your time. Stop over-explaining. Say no without guilt. Speak last. Move slow. Learn to listen, not just to respond, but to read. Be the quietest in the room, but also the sharpest. That's presence. That's what makes people second-guess crossing you. Forgive if you want, but only if it serves your peace. Walk away without announcing it. Let your absence shift the dynamic. Let your detachment command the room. Because the man who cannot be provoked cannot be controlled. Machiavelli didn't write about being feared out of cruelty. He wrote about being feared out of discipline, out of resolve, out of a clear, unwavering commitment to your standards. People fear what they can't manipulate, and when you become the man who acts, not reacts, you become that fear. In the end, becoming untouchable is about becoming whole, not needing validation, not needing applause, not needing a crowd to feel powerful. Because power isn't something given, it's something taken, something embodied. Let them say you've changed. Let them call you arrogant. That means they feel your shift. They recognize you're no longer available for disrespect, no longer playing their game. The boy who needed permission is gone. The man who owns his space has arrived. He doesn't ask for respect. He becomes it. Machiavelli didn't ask men to become cruel. He asked them to become clear, to understand that the world doesn't respond to intentions. It responds to behavior. And when your behavior signals that you won't defend your time, your energy, or your values, you will be treated accordingly. The truth is simple. People don't rise to meet your goodness. They fall into patterns of what you allow. Every unpunished betrayal, every tolerated disrespect, every ignored instinct. It all builds the life you now feel trapped inside. You weren't born to explain yourself. You weren't meant to accommodate everyone's comfort. That's not humility. That's submission disguised as virtue. The man who commands the most respect isn't the one who talks the most. It's the one who walks away first. Throughout this video, you've seen how power isn't loud. It's not aggressive. It's not desperate. Power is in stillness. It's in the silence you hold when others try to provoke you. It's in the calm no that ends a cycle of manipulation. It's in the detachment that protects your sanity from emotional leeches. You were not made to be everyone's comfort. You were made to stand firm, even when you stand alone. So walk forward, with fewer words, with sharper eyes, with a spine that doesn't bend every time someone says they're disappointed. Comment below. Have you ever realized your kindness was being weaponized against you? And if this spoke to you, share it with the man you used to be. He deserves to wake up too.